Hello and welcome to the Globetrottin ADs. Since 2019, a way for athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and friends to connect and collaborate no matter where they are around the world. We hope that you enjoyed the podcast and share it with anyone you think will enjoy it as well. And now, let's get this episode started.
All right. Hey, hello everybody. Welcome back. Happy New Year 2025. Nick DeForest here at Globetrottin AD's first episode of the year. And I am without my partner Matt, but I am not solo. It's not just going to be a rant session from me by myself. I have a great guest who's coming back. Chris McCallum is back on the pod with me here. Get to him in a second, just a little bit of an intro. And if you've been around for a while, season 3, episode 5, you would recognize that name. He was on talking about truth-based athletics, something we're going to talk about today. But also, if you have my book, A Global Playbook, he is on page 63 to 65. Some great stuff. So obviously, someone worthy to come back and talk some more. Chris, welcome back, buddy.
Well, thank you. First episode of the year. Look at that.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of people repeat?
Well, it's iffy. It's iffy. They got to be of a top class,
Oh,
But
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and once this is like a test, right? Because to get a second one, it's like, yeah, that was good. Let's have him back. But you got to deliver today, or then it ends at 2.
Yeah, I
No.
might not even get this one produced, actually. We'll see.
No, it's great. And yeah, there are some people that come back about different things
Awesome.
or whatever. But we really do want to talk about some of the same stuff we talked about before. But, it was 2021, October
Yeah,
2021. So since then, lots of things have changed, like for all of us.
yeah,
So I'm
for
sure,
sure.
some things remain the same. So we'll see. And we'll see how you and truth-based athletics can help us all out, I think. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
tough.
I
There's
hope
lots of
so.
things going on, but there's lots of good stuff, and you forget about things, right?
Hmm.
And people move
Sure.
around. And I was just saying to Chris, so many of you out there have changed and moved jobs, and maybe just started listening. And
Yeah, and the challenges are different when that happens, right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, let's get into a little bit of just of who you are for those people that haven't tuned in, or even if they just read the book, they wouldn't really know. So you know,
sure. So I've been in international education for the last 18 years, I guess, starting in China when my wife and I did 11 years there and then moved to Frankfurt. We're at FIS for 4 years. And then we had the opportunity to go to Brasilia, Brazil for the American school there. And then we were there the last 3 years. Most recently, my wife, who's a superstar, landed a headship or a principalship, as they call it here, at Branksome Hall in Toronto. So we've moved back to Canada,
cool.
which is exciting. Never thought I'd be repatriating, but here I am. So that's kind of the short version
Yeah,
of my journey in international education. Within that, I've been working in sport education through coaching and athletics administration. My master's degree is in coaching and athletics administration with a focus in co-curricular programming. So that's kind of where my passion lies within the realm of international or national, I guess, education
yeah.
now, you know? So yeah.
That's great. But you're not from Toronto, so you're still. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
got
It's
to be a
kind of
different
like an
vibe, right?
international posting for sure.
Yeah, yeah, because countries like ours are big, right? So
The East Coast is a special place. It's very different
yeah,
than big city like Toronto. So yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely kind of like another posting.
I bet. I bet. And it's funny how, I mean, there's so many international stories of when people move around, but there's so many connections, right? Like when you were in Frankfurt, obviously you're close to here, but then you're in Brasilia, you're hanging out with people that I'm good friends with, and then I
Mhm.
was in Canada for Thanksgiving, and I was at a Thanksgiving dinner table, and sitting beside people that know you from where you are now. So
Yeah.
it's a small world. Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
the education world for sure is pretty small.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, truth-based athletics. Give us a little bit of a rundown of what that is.
Yeah, I think, it was, I listened back to our old episode and I think,
Yeah.
that there are a lot of things that are the same, but there are some things that are definitely different too. I think, in the last 4 years, I've done a lot of work with coaches and programs and companies. And I think the biggest thing I have now is just a lot more clarity of what I do,
Hmm.
being able to express that to people. Truth-based athletics is kind of born out of my passion for coaching and a desire to create impact for young people, right, in educational sport. And over the last few years, I've been lucky enough to evolve it into not just it from my personal practice, but into something of more of a community, a network of coaches and administrators really wanting to make impact over time, which I would define as building a legacy, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my work lies. In order to kind of define that for people, my purpose with TBA is to create intentionally positive learning experiences through sport.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the vision, the big idea of what it is. Now, how do we do that? Like I told you, my master's is focused in co-curricular programming.
Hmm.
So how do we build co-curricular programming for educational institutions, activity departments, athletics programs, and for elite coaches and leaders who are really trying to offer great impact through their programming and improve, and some authentic and specific things that apply to each person that are unique, but this is really just a guideline that really helps um, drive building out, basically defining and aligning on your common purpose, evaluating and elevating approaches for impact, and assessing and revamping systems for sustainability. Because what this all comes down to is systems, right? Systems
Yeah.
of operation, systems of work, systems of communication, that are really effective.
Wow. Well, you hit two words there that I'm going to pop out. First, like intentional
Sure.
near the beginning,
Yeah.
and then sustainability closer to the end.
Mm.
So it's funny. I think a lot of us, or at least recently, the phrase or the idea of you need coaches to teach certain things. Just by kids playing sports doesn't mean they're going to be good sportsmen and get these great
Mhm.
values. Right? They need to be taught. They need to have the right coaches and more it needs to be intentional, right?
Mhm.
But I would I would think that a lot of us out there in international schools or the 80s think that their programs just do that even
Mhm.
still. Like, okay, we have teacher coaches, we don't really care about winning, we're going to get let maybe we have a no cut policy. So I think
Mhm.
just with all that, some of us may assume that we're doing these things, but that's definitely not the case, right? Just that doesn't mean we're being intentional at all.
Yeah, I think we've had this conversation before, I think
Yeah.
on another forum when we were talking a little bit about like co-curricular, like
Yeah.
titling your program co-curricular,
Yeah.
right? And actually I've done some reflection because you made some points in that I was like, you know what, maybe I'm coming at this from not exactly the right angle.
Hmm.
So when I think about like, are you using your athletics program effectively? Is that kind of where you're
Yeah,
coming from?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, if I were to frame this question, I would say, are you calling yourself co-curricular? And then beyond that, I would say, how co-curricular are you?
Yeah.
Right? Like you can say you are and not really be intentional, like you're talking about, and you're not really intentionally creating a positive experience of learning, right? Through sport. You're kind of leaving it up to the situation, hoping that it works out.
Yeah.
Um, just to kind of drop back to the research, because part of being truth-based is that it's based in research. So in looking at like what makes effective schools, what makes effective programmings, there are a couple of levels that we need to look at. So is your program comprehensive?
Hmm.
Are you creating a lot of opportunities? I think that's what athletics does a great job of in almost every school is they're creating a lot of learning opportunities by having different teams, having different programs, having just different places for kids to come and learn and move and do things together, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of us have comprehensive programs. Are your programs effective? That means, do the people in charge of your programs, are they effective at teaching disciplinary content and skills?
Hmm.
Like, are they good at teaching
Yeah.
basketball or whatever
Sure.
it is? Are they effective at that piece? So we have comprehensive programming and effective programming. And I think a lot of the time, this is kind of where schools separate themselves. from being truly co-curricular. The next piece is it progressive? Are you pulling in your I tend to focus more on like the approaches to learning curriculum or the transdisciplinary curriculum
Yep.
because I'm expecting the coaches to be expert in the disciplinary piece, right?
Yeah.
So the support a lot of the time is in the leadership and the character, and I say psych skills because that's really what they are for me. Um, so are you pulling that in? Are you intentional about being progressive and knowing what skills you're teaching, what skills you aren't, and are they important? Do you need
Yeah.
to pull those in? Or are they just something that's not really applied to the program, right? And then there's the kind of this integrative piece is the school seeing this as a learning? Like is every opportunity to learn in the school, whether it be sport or theater or robotics or whatever it is, are these all living under that kind of progressive framework where kids are seeing it here and they're seeing it there and they're making the connections between all these different contexts, right? So I would say that like that's kind of a progression from going from comprehensive,
Yeah.
effective, progressive, and integrative, right? If you're way up there in integrative, your school is wow. I mean, send me a job application. I'm right?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, but it is highly intentional. It takes a lot of effort and work on a number of people's
Right.
levels.
Right. Yeah, and that's to some great definitions of the whole thing, and where the different schools. I think anyone listening would know where they lie,
Mhm.
pretty much in there, and it maybe that sustainability or that just takes time sometimes, and
Absolutely.
okay, I'm putting these things in place, and hopefully they get the best out of it, but that's all I can handle, because of
Mhm.
maybe budgetary or maybe just you're a one man show, and maybe you're also
Yeah.
teaching, right?
Yeah, I've been that.
Yeah.
I've been that idiot who's teaching
Yeah.
and that's part of where this comes from is how do I make this possible
Yeah.
for the kids and how do I make this possible for my coaches and how do I make this possible for me? Because I want a great experience too,
Right. Well, I
right? I
think,
want intentionally positive learning experience.
yeah, right. That exactly. You fit right into that same puzzle, right? Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's what I really love is and why it's a great piece to the book, how any school can raise its game, and like if you want to
Mhm.
get to that next level, you can't always do these things with the people in your building that are also running the day to day program. Like I just can't do, even if I had the knowledge that you have, and the skill set, which is just different than mine. Even if I had it, I couldn't do it. I'm too busy with all this other
Mhm.
stuff. So that's what I love. So I think if people are listening and they want to get better, it's not always just them and the time that they have. That someone to come in and help
Absolutely.
and guide and lead them. And um,
Well, and I think that kind of brings us back to that sustainability piece, if you don't mind me
yeah, please.
jumping out a
Yeah,
little bit. I mean, yeah, it's overwhelming. Sometimes it's a feat just to get the trains to run on time, right? And make
yeah,
sure everybody's with uniform and those things. Like and to do anything beyond that is overwhelming, right? Like I know, for example, I know that your state of the industry survey's
hmm
coming out probably this month, right? Or next
yeah,
month.
yeah. I'll
I mean,
put it out soon so people start fill it in before
yeah.
summer. Yeah,
So in that interest, I just kind of
yeah,
jumped back to last year's last night and took a quick look through, and it's like, what are the two things that are the most challenging for ADs? And I know you have the coach one too, so I
yeah,
took a look through that, and a lot of the answers are very similar.
yeah,
Um, and workload was the big one.
yeah,
The other one was if you had more time, what would you
yeah,
want to do? It
yeah,
was this stuff.
yeah.
It was leadership. It was character. It was, and like that's what truth-based athletics is for. It's me coming in with a framework
hmm
to give you direction. It's a map, right? Like you can locate where you are in the map or what you need next in the map.
hmm
And I mean, really, we're building the plane as we fly it, right? So
Yeah,
it's like what do we need right now?
right.
It's not supposed to be something extra. It's supposed to be something that's in service to you right now.
Cool.
Right. And then you build these systems out, like you say, you put some systems in. Do they work? I don't know. I come back and see later.
Right.
And maybe they failed and you got to come back. Well, if you have a conversation with me, maybe we look at that and I just say, you know what? That's really good, but I would be concerned about these things.
right,
Because I get to jump in labs with other ADs and I get to test my stuff out in different ways so that
sure.
I feel confident that what I bring to the table is going to serve you.
Every school has a different size and different makeup and different layout, so maybe that worked great over there, but it didn't work here, right?
Yeah.
A lot of, especially smaller schools, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a small school. I'm medium, 800, but we can do a lot without our director or principals. They trust us. We're admin. We have a big budget. We can do things, but a lot of people need the admin, and in some cases that's good, right? If a director says no, we need to improve our program, we're gonna go forward. So my point is, do you work with athletic administrators? Do you work with principals or directors, or would it be school to school, like how it?
I work, yeah, I work with just about anybody who's on this path.
Yeah,
I've worked with like whole departments. I've worked with like a program, like if you have you have a head of basketball who's running the varsity JV down and they're in charge of that. I'll work with either that person or their whole team of coaches. I've worked with individual coaches who call me and they're on this path. They're just like, I want to do this better for the kids I serve or for the
yeah,
family, right? I've done this. I mean, the reality is, you're right. It's like everybody who calls me is in a different situation,
mm-hmm.
right? Whether it's time, whether it's resources, whether it's just availability,
Yeah,
right? Like sometimes it's just, I have this problem. I need you to help me unlock it.
right,
And it's just that hour,
right,
like, what would you do in this?
right,
Like, that's fine too. But I mean, the reality is, how do I add value?
yeah,
And, and what is that about? That, how is that valuable to you?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like like, I mean, my time's valuable too.
yeah,
So,
sure,
but we
yeah,
come like a value-based approach, I guess, to figuring out how are we going to make this work for both of us.
right. Well, one thing that got actually, I probably didn't even think about it until we spoke way back, but the having direct links to like the IB curriculum or the learner profiles, and because that's something obviously teachers or admin around the world, it's athletics, it's not important, we need to focus on this, where athletics can help you get those IB goals, that hit those targets, if that's the right word for IB, for the kids. We could be hand in hand, but like athletics isn't featured in accreditation reports or very briefly as a part of some sections. It's not its own section. So I don't know. I think that's a very attractive thing to make athletics more academic or appeal to academics. Is that, if that's the right phrase? Well, I'm just thinking a lot of some of the teachers, like the biology teacher, doesn't think the kids are wasting their time with athletics, not getting anything out of it except running around. And
Yeah.
the athletic director can say, our athletics program is hitting these things that the IB say are important, or we're teaching, these things to make it
Yeah.
really co-curricular, like the background to help it be co-curricular.
Yeah. And I think that kind of comes back to my like integrative piece, like on that high end of effective schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
And effective programming
Yeah.
is, that comes down a bit to how your administration sees the vision as well and how they support athletes like that, where the
Yeah.
biology teacher might not value them going out to that sport, but
Right.
then your principal or the person says, listen, that's a learning experience. We believe that's a learning experience.
Right.
And actually it's part of their CAS, it's part of their whatever it is, right?
Right.
And they need this to serve them in reflecting in their learning.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say really good schools that are integrative do that. Like
Yeah.
I know I've had CAS coordinators at schools come to me and say, your kids write better reflections. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Why are they making these connections that other kids aren't? I said, well, we're having conversations about these things. I've looked at the CAS outcomes, the seven
Right.
statements
Yeah.
that we need to meet, and I've said, how do I serve that? And I don't draw the direct connections, but I kind of put it in there so that the kids can, which is kind of the point,
Right.
right? They figure
Yeah. I think the
it
kids don't realize, like, just even generally, they don't realize when they play sports all the things they're learning,
yeah,
unless people talk about it and tell them, or
it's your intentional, right?
right. It's the
Yeah.
word. So, and that happens at different levels from, well, it should happen at different levels from middle school or whenever you start playing on a team, especially into, you know, the 11th and 12th graders, right?
Sure, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well, like, we'll link the website and we'll talk truthbasedathletics.com. Pretty easy. You have some great resources there for people to, you know, put it together or see it on the page as a pyramid and things like that. And you've also talked about a few things how you can really adapt to any situation or any school size or whoever's up. But what could an AD expect? Like, I'm interested. I want to help my program out. I don't have too much time, but I want to do it as best I can. So what could an AD expect when they sign up, or do they need to meet with you every week for an hour? I mean, I don't have that time. But no, tell me what's
I
normal.
guess what they can expect is a unique experience. I guess that's what
Yeah.
most say when they deal with me is that was a unique experience. Uh, but really like tailored to their needs, capacity, and budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I want to add value
Yeah.
and I don't want to be a burden because then you're not going to come back.
Yeah.
And I mean, really what we're talking about here is getting on a path to mastery. So this AD wants to get on a path to mastery. They're trying to learn and do their job better, and they're trying to help the people below them. And I mean, we talk about leadership, but really what we're talking about is mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we talk about these character programs, we a lot of the times we talk about leadership and we think we can give a topic and a thing. And
Yeah.
really, no, it's that does happen, but it's about the relationship and just being there to support
Yeah.
and help them grow. So, I mean, that could look like a number of different things. The reality is, like you say, is just every school is in a different context and has different needs. So, I can work with individuals, sport specific programs, full athletic departments, like we
Yeah.
say, deliver
Mm-hmm.
professional development and mentorship relevant to school specific context and need
Yeah.
is the idea. Yeah. So if you want some examples of how I do that, like I say, individual mentorship, I've worked
Yeah.
with individuals. Um, I've done like, give me a topic, like you call me, say, I have this problem
Yeah.
and I need this help. I can put my stuff together and hop on with you and we
Right.
solve that problem.
Yeah.
Right. Or sometimes I've done cohort work where there's like 4 or 5 people who are kind of in the same
Mm-hmm.
situation, maybe at different schools, maybe in the same place.
Yeah.
And we hop online and like I deliver like a 4 week course or something, and we have
Mm-hmm.
some reflection conversation. And that way they help me kind of reframe my work to their need.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Or that I am starting to build out just like online content. Like here's a free thing on the theory.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an hour class and some resources you can use with your team.
Yeah.
That's kind of something I'm working toward. That's quite time consuming to build. So
Of course.
I generally tend to prefer to work with people,
Yeah, and then
but
it might not suit that individual need of that school because it's like you said,
yeah,
it's not individualized.
yeah, that's it. So and I mean, I guess the reality of it is like mentorship is a relationship. It would start with a call.
Yeah.
You give me a call or an email and we get on and have a conversation and see if we're a good fit for each other. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are your problems? Can I help you? What's the direction you want to move and
Right.
what are your capabilities here?
I'm well, and most people out there know I haven't moved. Like I'm there. So
Hmm.
which is unique, right? But I think a lot of the people that I talk to that move around, they want to build and make a program better while they're there, but then want it to continue when they leave.
Absolutely.
So I think that the sustainability that we talked about, this could help put systems in place for people that really care about where they are, but know they're not going
Hmm.
to stay there for a while, right? Get things done
Yeah.
that can get passed on. I think in the world of people moving all around, whether it's the math curriculum, it's the same thing, right? They don't want to have to depend on the certain math teachers they have every year. They want the curriculum so the math teachers can move in and out, right? But I don't see that too often in athletics. So
Yeah, I think, that's part of what I'm talking about because I have moved quite a bit.
yeah,
Like when I leave, those kids are still my kids.
yeah,
And when I move into a place, the kids that are there won't be my kids I say it for me, it takes, if it's a basketball program, it's probably going to take me 3 to 4 years
yeah,
to make those kids feel like I'm their coach.
yeah,
You know what I mean? To build those relationships and build that trust. But in the meantime, you do want to be building those systems and respecting those kids and making sure their experience is good as we can make it right now, right?
Yeah.
And beyond that, like the last school I was at, I left and their program's going really well. And I hope I contributed to that.
Yeah.
I don't want to take any credit where it's not deserved, but
Yeah.
I, I hope those things, I hope that the things I did had a positive
Sure.
impact to contribute to that,
Right.
So I'm happy for them. And it makes me feel good to know that those
Right.
kids that, are on that journey are having a great experience and those
Yeah.
coaches are probably having a great experience too.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
in 3 days I'm going to Frankfurt for a meeting, so I can ask around. I know
Oh, they won't know.
it's been a while
It's
since
been
you've been in
7 years
Frankfurt.
since then.
It's been a while since you were there, but yeah.
Well, I
Um,
still talk to Will often, and I know the work that they do. Like they are one of those schools that's up on that higher end, really putting a great deal of effort to
yeah.
make an intentionally positive experience for kids. I know the sport I had in doing that while I was there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Super.
yeah, have a great chat with Will.
Yeah. No, I will. Will for sure. Well, you know what? One thing, you're a super smart guy, very intelligent, very sporty, and
I'm going to
lots of
send
ins
this
and outs.
podcast to my wife.
You do it, do it, and also, I look forward to having a beer with you this summer, in
Yeah,
Toronto.
that'd be great. We have not connected face
No,
to face. We've done
no,
these projects together. We've done
yes,
some cool things, but definitely
yeah,
we're going to make that happen.
sometime. Yeah, no, it'll be good. And
Cool.
and to add to the last part, I would say is that you're very unique, in what you can do and offer. And there's people out there. I mean, most people in international stuff, you look to the U.S. For people or things that can help, but there's no one that really knows international schools, and is in a position to do the things that you can do. So, I think that's awesome. And
I appreciate that. I hope so.
yeah, yeah. So I hope, yeah, truth based athletics in the show notes. I'll have the website there, and I guess that the contacts there, right?
Yeah, the email there, my phone number is there on the website. If you
Perfect.
want to message me, if you want to call me, if you want to email me. Really, my goal is to add value and impact and build my legacy, my impact over time, in a way that serves others and doing the same. You know.
Kukri Sports is a clothing brand that specializes in providing the world's most prestigious schools with bespoke made and designed team uniforms. If you're frustrated by inconsistent colors, branding, cost, and sizing across your teams, then it's time to email someone at Kukri Sports today. When you email contact@cookrysports.com, tell them about the Globetrottin ADs, and you'll receive a special offer on your coach or PE staff order.
Well, we're not done. We Most of the time we ask people something about where they're at. Sometimes we forget, but you've been a lot of places, and now you're back in Canada. So two parts question: what do you miss by not living internationally? What's something that you've really enjoyed?
I don't feel like I'm not living international. Like I said, I'm from the East Coast.
Yeah,
Like this is a different world for me. This is like another international posting for me,
yeah,
and we're in independent schools that are IB schools and those things.
cool.
So I feel like I'm
Well,
getting
that's
all
good.
the international
Yeah.
experience right here in Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah, and Toronto is, I mean, not everyone who's listened has been there, but it is very international, and you're
For
right in
sure.
town, right? So that's a lot different than even where I'm from, which is an hour away from Toronto, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Where the Grace's school is located right downtown, which is amazing. Their facilities and their campus are beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
All right.
So
Well, what about then something cool in Toronto? Because like you said, you're new and you're feeling it so far. So what's something great about Toronto that you didn't expect or didn't
I
know?
think there are two major things about Toronto that I had an inkling of,
Yeah.
but it's been majorly confirmed for me. Number one is the food here.
Yeah.
Like everywhere I've been in the world, if I want that for dinner, I can have it. Like I go down to Chinatown, I have Bing is my favorite street food. I'll go to a Bing club down in Chinatown. I recommend it if you haven't had it, if you're into Bing. And like Brazilian food, any kind of food you want, there's a spot for it, or even a region of town where that's where that community lives. You know what I mean? So that's amazing. The other part is just like an athletics person, the sports scene here. I mean, you could start a professional tiddlywinks club here, and the club would be supported by the city
Yeah.
no matter what. Right? Like teams that are here, they have teams for everything, and it's just they're getting a WNBA team now. They got their women's hockey team now. They have it's just and with two daughters to have access to all that and be downtown. Um, Great city that way.
Cool. Well, that's great. That's great. It is a great place to tour around, even if just for a few days. So, yeah, awesome. Well, listen, we didn't talk long, but we talked about some awesome stuff and left the door open for people to go to the website and check some more things out, and then hopefully contact you. So, thanks for being on again, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So great to be on. I'm still listening. I listen to every episode. So
Perfect.
it's listen. I don't listen to myself too much, but I try to listen to you guys.
Well, I always get a couple listens from Canada, and I just wondered. I don't think it's my dad every time, so no.
It's
Just
me
kidding.
now. Yep.
All right. Well, take care. Happy New Year, and
All right, seeing you.
talk soon. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers.
This has been another episode of the Globetrottin ADs. We hoped you enjoyed it. And until the next episode drops, head over to globetrottin80s.com or visit us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.